waste product that, if it weren't dripped into the water supply, it would have to be disposed of as a highly toxic hazardous waste under strict EPA regulations. Curiously, it is a violation of federal law to dump hexafluorosilicic acid or sodium silicofluoride into the water. Such an act, in fact, is considered an act of terrorism. Yet it is mysteriously allowed today as long as it is accompanied by a loosely justified claim that we're doing this to stop cavities. But setting aside for the moment the inconvenient truth that water fluoridation involves the illegal act of dumping hazardous waste into the water supply, there's another important question in all this. Do these toxic fluoride chemicals actually prevent cavities? Roughly 99% of the municipal water pumped through any given city never ends up in the mouths of the people. Most water is used for showering, washing dishes, washing clothes, watering yards, and filling pools. Almost none of the fluoride dripped into the water supply comes into contact with human teeth. It does, however, end up downstream, where it contaminates rivers, streams, and ultimately the oceans of our world. In this way, water fluoridation policies have become a convenient loophole through which the phosphate mining industry can dump its toxic waste byproducts into the environment without adhering to any EPA regulations whatsoever. Phosphate mining companies even turn a profit by selling their hazardous waste to cities and labeling it fluoride, even though this name is scientifically inaccurate. All this raises an obvious question. If fluoride kills cows and crops and fish and is considered a hazardous waste chemical by the EPA, then how could it be healthy to ingest? And why don't doctors and dentists, even though they openly recommend fluoride, sometimes with irrational exuberance, know where fluoride really comes from? If dentists knew fluoride was derived from the chemical waste of the phosphate mining industry, would they still recommend that we consume it? The truth about fluoride is a lot like the truth about Enron or Goldman Sachs or every other shocking revelation that nobody believed until it suddenly became obvious that we were all being fooled for so long. Fluoride is a clever scheme where a hazardous waste chemical is dumped into the environment by passing it through the bodies of people first. We, the people, have become the toxic waste dump site of the phosphate mining industry, and chances are your local dentist fully supports this entire process. Over the last several decades, an astonishing 24 studies have established a statistical link between fluoride exposure and low IQs in children. One study conducted by the Center for Endemic Disease Control in China found that each additional milligram of fluoride detected in every liter of a child's urine was associated with a 0.59 point decrease in their IQ score. Another study found that fluoride exposure slashed the number of children achieving high IQs by more than 70%. It shouldn't be surprising, of course, to learn that consuming a hazardous chemical might impair brain function. Water fluoridation, it turns out, may be the root cause of the alarming drop in academic aptitude among children in first world nations. Historically speaking, the mathematics that were taught to 8th graders in the 1950s are now college-level courses in 2011. Maybe the reason why Johnny can't read or spell is because Johnny's been drinking too much fluoride. So I have 3 bits of advice for you. First, for your dental needs, always seek out a holistic dentist who understands the toxicity of fluoride and mercury. They will advise you not to drink toxic fluoride chemicals from your tap water. Secondly, Don't drink unfiltered tap water. In addition to the toxic fluoride chemicals, tap water is also usually contaminated with chlorine and even dangerous elements from old water pipes. Buy a good countertop water filter from a company like Aquasana, or get a whole house filter to remove chlorine and fluoride from the water entering your home. Thirdly, help fight water fluoridation in your local city or town. If your city is like most cities, water fluoridation policies have been pushed by dentists and doctors who are technically ignorant of the origins and composition of fluoride, and yet they seek to assert power over the composition of your local water supply. They essentially attempt to mass medicate the entire population with what can only be called a drug, a biologically active chemical that they claim can prevent a health condition. And yet, has this drug called fluoride ever received FDA approval as a drug? Have the individual members of the population been individually assessed for their need for such a drug? Have medication doses and drug interactions been considered? Has anyone even been written a prescription for this drug? The answer is no. Fluoride is an unapproved drug being used in a highly illegal mass medication scheme that provides an excuse for the real agenda of disposing of a highly toxic, hazardous waste chemical. It's time to stop fluoride. Demand an end to fluoridation in your local cities and towns. Call for those who purchase and handle fluoride to stop what they're doing. Question the safety of these toxic chemicals being dripped into the water supply. These are actions that endanger the public. They could be called acts of terrorism. And publicly shame the doctors and dentists who have taken part in this mass chemical poisoning, causing untold harm to populations all over the world. Help us stop the fluoride poisoning of our world. Learn more at naturalnews.com. Join the Facebook group No Fluoride. See more videos about fluoride at naturalnews.tv. Visit fluoridealert.org and other anti-fluoride websites that are working to end the fluoride poisoning. Together, with your help, we can end the era of fluoride in our world and protect our children from this industrial poison. Thank you for listening. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, reporting for naturalnews.com and the nonprofit Consumer Wellness Center.
I know that in Denmark we experienced rinsing programs with fluoride in the 50s and 60s. We have never had water fluoridation in Denmark, but we have a high recommendation from the dentist profession to use fluoride in our toothpaste. So what's the risk? High risk, even though it's only a toothpaste. But as modern researchers, for instance in Germany, experience that the energetic communication of things in the mouth communicate to the rest of the body, all the cells, with light speed. So if fluoride has a 1500 part per million in a tube of fluoride, in a tube of toothpaste, the presence of that fluoride will still immediately impact the person's cells all over the body, and it's only a question of accumulation of the proper level of stress, and you have the symptoms that was mentioned there. So for a number of years, from say the end of 80s, I have only recommended my clients, patients, fluoride-free toothpaste, and there are different ways to go. Veleda has a good one. There are yeah, the difference on the market of natural toothpaste. Some people have over the years pointed at using soap in the as a mouth rinse to regenerate enamel. I haven't followed that road very much, but I know of it, and some people have tried it out. But there are a number of healthy toothpaste on the market in Denmark. So I'll recommend that highly. Time is running out. 10:05. I have 10:15, I believe. So I'll just finish a few minutes before opening up for some questions. When I change fillings from amalgam to composite fillings, I aim for optimal bite height. Learning from an American doctor who in the 40s and up to nowadays, I went to a workshop in Scotland in mid-90s. He had noticed the benefit of creating optimal bite height because we are wearing down our teeth and fillings over time. So the line between C2, cervical vertebrae 1 and 2, and the tip of the top lower incisor, front tooth, is an organizational line upon which over and lower there will be 38 pair of muscles activated or working. And if we deepen our breath and we wear down our bite, that will create tension both locally around the TMJ, the neck, but also it has impact on the way the brain nerves are clenched in this area, and that would, for instance, for a woman, would create a lot of via nervous vagus problems with her menstrual periods and digestion, of course, the whole vagus area. And so we need to look at the possibility of creating more bulk in the bite, so to say. A few years ago, a client came to me, Vika Tester from Copenhagen, with chronic neck pain. And she went to the dental high school and had taken off to balance. But that just worsened the whole situation. So she went to acupuncturist to have this chronic pain relieved. She came to me and said, well, you have a deep bite. It's totally wrong. You don't have to take off. You have to put on. And what I did at that point, that it was in '93, I took an impression and I put extra composite onlays of about 3 to 4 millimeter to raise her bite. Immediately after that, she was relieved from her neck pain. You could actually, if that was a permanent treatment, because you could have an intermediate treatment like in Beskrivelse, a split, I believe, putting in, so you have a sense of what this treatment could look like along the road. But I just knew I have certain diagnostic tools to register the proper level that I learned from this Dr. Fonder. So in a few days, her chronic neck pain was relieved because of the proper bite height. She had a bite, she could feel it in her lower lumbar, she could stand straight again. She was like that because of she had to build up the bite so she could be herself. And the dental high school, they just drilled away just to even out. Yeah. Anyway, there's room for a few questions, and please feel welcome. Yeah. There's a mic coming up. Yeah.
Thank you very much for all this information. I just would like to ask you, you said, and we all know that this fluoride is, how do you say, täpper till förkörteln. It's blocking the hormones to the thyroid gland, so that the hormones can't work in a good way.
Yeah.
Is it true according to you?
That the fluoride will block the hormone, yes, or the hormone
in the thyroid gland.
The thyroid, yeah. I would say from what I have studied that the fluoride would actually, there's a certain affinity from fluoride to the pituitary gland.